Detecting sound now. Hello and welcome. Janie, welcome to the New Health Conversation. My name is Peter Greenlaw. Hello, Gwendolyn. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Greenlaw. This is live. I'm an author. I'm a nutritional researcher for 21 years. This book we're going to talk about today, Why Diets Are Failing Us, because they are, with 80% of America overweight. Okay, that was a waste of time. Let's go back over here to the poster. Hello, Linda. Welcome. My name is Peter Greenlaw. Jerry, my name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years and okay. Hello, Terry. As the headline says, you really can lose as much weight in 4 days as in 8 weeks of any diet. Hello, ST8080F Grace. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm a best-selling author. My name is Peter Greenlaw. This is one of my 4 books, Why Diets Are Failing Us, and we're going to prove that to you today with the medical results. So nothing we're going to talk about today is an opinion. Nothing we're going to talk about today is not based by medical facts. Hello, Jesse. So the idea is you can actually, I know it sounds crazy that you could lose as much weight in 4 days as 8 weeks of any diet, but we have the medical proof to back it up. And it's not unhealthy. People didn't lose water weight. They didn't lose lean muscle. If you're really serious about taking control of your health, because that's the most important thing. Hello, Winan. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. But anyway, we're going to show you today how you can absolutely lose as much weight in literally 4 days as in 8 weeks of any diet, as crazy as that may seem. But we have the medical evidence to prove it. And I'm putting up for all of you now. This is our free research website. You can see it there. You can go there at any time. It's free. There's no gimmicks. There's no tricks, period, you know. So what we talk about in the book are these 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies. In case you don't know, a peer-reviewed human trial study, you can't go bigger in medicine research than that. And in the studies where men and women were not allowed to exercise, they really did lose as much weight in 4 days as in 8 weeks of any diet. And what was so amazing was not only didn't they lose any water weight, but instead of losing lean muscle mass, they actually gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise whatsoever. So people were absolutely, I mean, the researchers were crazy, but the biggest part of it was that blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically just in 30 days. Inflammation came down about 25% in a month. No one had ever seen results like this before. The problem is, and if you want to, you can put it in the comments, can you name a diet that's not some form of lowering calories? Hello, Karma. We're talking about this book, Why Diets Are Failing Us. I'm the actual author. Hello, Cherna. Hello, we're talking about why diets are failing us, and you'll notice in the headline, it really is true that in these medical studies, we have 7 of them, men and women, hi, Karma, I'm saying hi, hey, men and women lost as much weight, are you ready for this, in 7 days, in 4 days as in 8 weeks of any diet, without any loss of water, etc. This is so revolutionary. The researchers who did this, that we write about in our book, they're the top weight loss researchers in the world for almost 40 years. And they've done over 150 studies, thousands of people, and they determined that every diet they've ever looked at, whether you know it or not, people gained back at least as much as weight as they lost or more. Because in every diet out there, it was based on the wrong principle. See, when you lower the amount of food you're ingesting, even though they call it calories, the human body doesn't know what a calorie is, but it does know what nutrition is. So when you lower the quantity of your food, you lower the quantity of your nutrition, the body goes in starvation mode. You literally can't burn as many calories. It slows your metabolism down. That's why you get so frustrated. That's why it doesn't matter what the diet is, paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, water diet, doesn't matter. They all, in the long run, people gain back at least as much or more of the weight than they lost. And again, this is all original research. we didn't reproduce anything. We're not copying anything. We did the research. So I've written 4 books. This is my first one, Why Diets Are Failing Us. Then I wrote the book TDOS Syndrome. We'll talk about that today. TDOS Solutions, and my 4th book called Your Third Brain. It's not a trick title. So you have a chance today to really understand, if you're really serious about the weight loss. For us is a throw-in. That's like, it's so dramatic but it's the least important thing, because men and women with no exercise gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, but in 8 weeks they shrank the belly fat, and that's what people really complain a lot about. That shrank by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. I know it sounds too good to be true. I do this all the time, and we have people that are certainly, skeptical. So let's talk about briefly, what did they do? What was so different about what they did? Well, first of all, after 40 years, they knew what didn't work, and what didn't work was relying on lowering the quantity of food and ignoring the nutrition. And that's, hi, Tanya. Even Harvard Medical School has now come out and said, stop counting calories. They say counting calories is not any antiquated, it's just wrong. They said what we need to be doing is putting the emphasis on what's in the calorie, not how many calories people are consuming, okay? Does that make sense so far? So in these, and again, for the new people coming on, I'm the author of Why Diets Are Failing Us. This isn't a recording. I'm here live. I'll answer any questions for you. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years, and we're talking about this new protocol where men and women with no exercise lost as much weight in 4 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lost as much weight in 30 days as people lost in a year on diets, lost no water and lost no lean muscle mass, gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, and in 8 weeks, they were able to shrink their belly fat by 33%. So what's so different? What's new about this? Number one, it's not a diet. It has nothing to do with dieting. The basic concept behind it was this, which I had written about in my 2nd book. You'll notice TDOS syndrome, standing for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, being overweight and stress. It's a medical syndrome. It's registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. You, me, everybody in the world, we're storing chemicals inside of us, whether you know it or not. As we drink and breathe and eat chemicals that we can't avoid, the body takes the chemicals. Oh, wow, fantastic. You mean, Regina, Why Diets Are Failing Us, or TDOS Syndrome, or your third one? Which book? As I have written 4 of them. So thank you very much. That's wonderful. Okay, but I want for everybody to understand why after almost 40 years did they finally find the silver bullet for weight loss? Well, they knew that if they continued to just put people on diets where you lower the amount of food they consumed and ignored the nutrition, that every time people were going to lose lean muscle mass, slow down their metabolism, they come off the diet, they gain everything back. So the premise here was this. They isolated from the United States 5 different foods, a grocery list of 40% of the food people consumed in these new studies came from the grocery store. I got confused. The other 5 foods I was about to say, the researchers had found fulfillment companies had gone all over the world to find foods with tremendous, yeah, Karma, I'm sure you did. So please pay attention, because this could change your life. It's not some marketing gimmick, okay? Now, watch what happens. So the researchers realized that if they gave people 100% of the food, because the problem in North America now, food's becoming nutritionally bankrupt. So now you're giving your body less food, less nutrition. The body freaks out and burns your muscles for fuel and slows down your metabolism. So only 40% of what the people consumed, Karma and everybody else, was from the grocery store. But these other 5 foods came literally from Russia and China, Mongolia, Manchuria, from Tibet and the Himalayas. You can see the Himalayas behind me there, from South America and New Zealand. Now, why was that important? Because they found foods that had tremendous amounts of nutrition, not tremendous amount of calories. Because calories, first of all, a calorie doesn't mean anything to the human body, because the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is, right? So they had 40% of the food from the grocery store and 60% of the food from these sources from around the world. Then they did 2 completely different ways of eating that no one had ever even tried before. One is called protein pacing. The simple version is they figured out specific amounts of protein at specific amounts of times over about 12 or 14 hours over the course of a day. That was about 5 days each week as the people went through this. The other thing that they did, they employed, this will sound crazy to you, intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting. And what they were able to do is through 4 of the foods, 4 out of 5, were liquid. Now, why is that important? Because every night when you go to sleep, whether you know it or not, once you fall asleep, your body all but suspends digestion. When that happens, your body automatically turns on the natural detox mechanism built into all of us. It's called autophagy. In English, it means the body's getting rid of the dead cells and the debris that we've accumulated through breathing, drinking, eating, whatever, right? Well, the researchers were able to duplicate that when people were awake. So they did 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast each week as people went through this. Now, to give you an idea, this study, which started more than a couple of years ago, or these studies, plural, they take a long time. The people that have lost, remember, the people lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet. They've maintained. Now, many of them have continued. I mean, there were people on there that need to lose, 150 pounds, and obviously they didn't lose it in 30 days. But they lost the equivalent amount of weight they'd ever lost on any diet in a year. And now, before you say it's unhealthy to lose that much weight on a diet, I couldn't agree with you more. This isn't a diet. They did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proved people lost no water, and instead of losing lean muscle mass, which is the reason you slow down your metabolism, you can't burn as many calories, you come off the diet, you gain everything back, they had a 6 to 9% gain in lean muscle with no one. Oh, Regina, that's wonderful. But so my point is that the difference here is we're not giving you opinions. The difference here is we have medical proof. As a matter of fact, it's still up there. The New Health Conversation, that's our free, and I mean free research site. You can go there. You can see Karma, for example. You can go there and see all the medical proof. There's even an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. It's even a walkthrough, about a 20-minute video showing you kind of in more detail what I just talked about, what they did. It's because it wasn't, keep in mind, it wasn't just what they were putting in their body. It was how they were putting it, when they were putting it, etc. Completely different thing. Now, if you go there, any of you, and you like what you see, you can sign up for a free, and I mean free personal consultation with one of our coaches. Now, why do we do that? Because we don't know anything about you. Like Karma, for example, thank you for sharing that, but we wouldn't have known, let's say that you were on a sleeve, or let's say we have somebody that has high blood pressure or high blood sugar or cholesterol, they want to sleep better. Everybody's different. We have people that want to gain weight. But again, this will probably shock some of you. The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's a given. It's the least important part for us as researchers. Most important thing maybe to you. The most important thing is to attack this syndrome called TDOS, toxicity, deficiency, overweight, and stress. It is one of the major reasons why we have 80% of Americans overweight, 50% obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic. I want to read to you from what the experts in the field of endocrinology are saying about these chemicals. Keep in mind, this is not an opinion. Keep in mind, this isn't a claim. Keep in mind, this is the real thing. Yeah, fat loss is, well, actually, in reality, Regina, what's happening is the fat is shrinking, okay? So you want it to shrink. You want to create a ratio where a percentage of visceral, that's the belly fat, to lean muscle. You want the lean muscle up and the visceral fat to shrink proportionally. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But listen to this from the world experts on chemicals. The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports that the rise in the incidence in obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrial chemicals that may be playing a role in a generation of obesity. They go on, by the way, these chemicals, for everybody, they're called obesogens. Wait do you hear what they say about this? Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal systems, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from natural compounds in soy, artificial hormones fed to animals, plastics in food packaging, chemicals added to processed foods, and pesticides sprayed on our produce. Listen to this, they act in a variety of ways mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and altering the function of our genes and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What in the world are we doing about this? No, until now, no paleo, keto, Mediterranean, Jenny Craig, Weight Watch didn't even touch this. We only knew that we were storing chemicals in our body since about 2005. Well, the key is that in these studies, that's what they concentrated on most. They thought, wait a minute, can we assist the body Exactly, Regina. So I'm agreeing with you, okay? But what I'm saying to you is that this is not a diet. The reason that I can say that is in the studies. What did they look at? Blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis. And what they found was this was definitely assisting the body in removing herbicides and pesticides and PCBs and Scotchgard and Teflon, even plastics from the body. No diet even approaches this. See, a diet is deprivation. Let's face it. Every diet I've ever heard anyone go on, they say, well, I want to lose weight. Maybe if if that improved my health, that'd be good. But the main thing is losing weight. What we're saying is you can have your cake and eat it too. That's a terrible pun, but I guess hopefully you get the analogy. So the main reason to do this is to assist your own body in removing the chemicals. What do you get as a bonus? The visceral fat, where we're storing the chemicals. That's where we're storing it. And we know that what happens when the chemical enters the visceral fat, it expands. That's why people have all that. They complain all the time. It's not just how much weight they have on their body, but how much fat. Do you know that most women on this, well, Regina, you probably know that, but most women on this lose as much, will lose a whole dress size in 7 days. It's not about a diet. It isn't. It's about really, how can I say it, sort of increasing your body's own ability for all your systems to function at higher levels. Because these chemicals called obesogens, these toxins, they are interfering with we heard it. It's interfering with our hormones. It's altering our hormones, so reprogram us to gain weight. You see any influencers even mentioning this? All they ever talk about is the only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Really? Then how in the world could we have... Yeah, because you're healthy. Exactly, Regina. So the point is, how in the world can we ignore what the medical science is now saying, that a major contributing factor to being overweight is storing these chemicals? See, and your lap band, Karma, with all due respect, had no impact on that at all. Zero impact. What your lap band was a way for you to lower the amount of food that you were consuming. Via V, you also lowered nutrition. And the reason you lost the weight and gained it all back is when you lose lean muscle mass, your body will slow down your metabolism. And it's not something that you recover from in a week or 2 weeks or a month. To give you an idea, and I'm not sure how much weight you actually lost, Karma, but let's say it was 20 pounds. The medical research is clear that for every pound of lean, by the way, up to 40% of what you lost, okay, according to the medical science, we wrote about it in our books, about 40% of that was lean muscle. So out of 20 pounds, 8 pounds is lean muscle. Do you know that the experts say to regain 1 pound of lean muscle, it takes you 12 months? So if you lost, I don't know, remember, I'm making this up. I have no idea how much weight you lost and then how much weight you gained back, but I'm not surprised because every single, wow, Karma. That's wow, congrats. But unfortunately, you couldn't sustain it. Because what you did, that means, just to give you an idea, almost, 50 pounds is lean muscle mass. Are you kidding me? No wonder you gained all the weight back. And again, Karma, we didn't, but remember that show, The Biggest Loser? Gained back 55. I'm not surprised. But the scary part is probably going to continue. And I'm not trying to scare you, Karma. I'm not. That's not what I do. I mean, I'll tell you why I'm so sensitive, that my own mother was morbidly obese my whole life. And one of the things that made me become a researcher was 23 years ago, her calling me up one day and saying, Peter, I have one wish she said, I have one wish. I said, what's that, Mom? She said, I'd give anything if I could spend 24 hours thin. 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. I love my mom. My mom dieted herself to death. She never did gastric sleeve or any of that, but I promise she did every diet you could ever name. And I saw her lose 20 pounds, gain back 25. Lose 25, gain back 30. Karma, you could have, listen, we have an expression, Karma, I know this will blow your mind. Just give us 4 days. Because I promise you, unless something weird happened, that in 4 days, you literally will lose as much weight as in 8 weeks of the sleeve of anything you've ever done. But instead of it being your precious lean muscle mass, it's going to be the shrinkage of the visceral fat and the removal of the chemicals that we have no choice about storing inside those obesogens. These are not opinions, okay? These are fact. These are medical facts, medical proof. And yet, if you go on social media, what are they all talking about? The only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Sorry, completely wrong. Because it's not just that now Harvard Medical School is saying stop counting calories. They're not only antiquated, they're just wrong, because what matters to our body is not, see, a calorie is only a measurement. The human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Why are we counting calories? I don't know. Sounds like a good idea. Only thing the body measures is nutrition. So when you lessen the amount of nutrition to the point where the body doesn't have enough to run all the organs in the body, it slows down your metabolism. It's that simple. It burns your muscles for fuel and slows down your metabolism. And karma, that's why you gain 55 pounds back. And, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but, it's not the end of gaining the weight back. So the idea would be for you, and is it still up there? It's not. I'm going to put it up there again. So karma, you or anybody else, you can go to the free research website and see the actual, I forgot the new. You can see the actual proof, the medical studies. Okay, there it is. I'm posting it for you. You can see it there, the new health conversation. And the idea is for you as a person, consumer, whatever, go see the proof first. This is not like you're jumping in the pool and you realize you didn't look to see if there's any water in there. We have nothing to hide. We're not here trying to trick people. We're here making major changes in people's lives. Listen to this, karma. If you decide, you go to the website, you can see it there, the new health conversation. It's free. We won't contact you. There's nothing to buy there. There's no, celebrity endorsements. What's there is an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world who conducted these peer-reviewed studies. And you know what they're saying? They'll never recommend any form of gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, any kind of diet lowering calories ever again. They researched them all for 40 years. They never worked long-term. Never. This is such a breakthrough. These researchers, they're getting calls from all over the world, from the top obesity experts in the world saying, you're going to change, this is going to change the world. But you have to understand, karma, it's not hype. It's not an opinion. It's not a scientific paper. These are peer-reviewed human trial studies done on human beings, not on rats, not on mice, etc. Karma, yes, karma, that's it. The proof, they proved it. Proved through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, it's the body that can detox us. But you have to give it the tools, not just what you're consuming, but how you're consuming, when you're consuming, how much you're consuming. It's all laid out. Karma, once you go to the website, if you like what you see, and I hope you will, at the bottom it says sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. It's completely free. It's not somebody an 800 number in some pool. No. They'll go through all your questions for you. If you decide you want to do it, they become your coach for free. The coaching's free. Now, as far as the other things, 40% of the food you're going to buy from the grocery store, you actually get a grocery list, okay? The other 5 foods that come from these fulfillment companies that search the world for these massive amounts of nutrition from Russia, China, Mongolia, etc., they offer you the first month, listen to this, the first 30 days, 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. They'll even pay return shipping. Now, I have nothing to do with that. You got to understand the researchers, karma, they don't sell anything. They found, and they put this together. They figured out, okay, we're going to reduce the amount of food that people are consuming from North America, and we're going to give 60% of the food from these 5 foods from around the world. So it's not like you're buying the food you're buying now, and then you buy the 5 foods on top of that. No, they're going to replace, but you're replacing food that's almost nutritionally bankrupt with massive doses of nutrition. I'll give you one example. One of the things that we're the most deficient in is something called trace ionic minerals. There's 70 that we need. In the best organic any of you can find, you get about 20. So just that alone, that's part of what's in the 5 foods you buy. They found a source that has all 70 minerals. So you're in a position where you can really do something that is impossible. Well, it's never been proven with any form of traditional diet. And that's why, this book, I can't believe I wrote this book in 2010, 14 years ago. We've had 2 or 3 updates since then. And it was my first book. But everything I talked about in the book about why are we counting calories and make every calorie count, it's now been backed up by people like, not because of me, but just in general, Harvard Medical School, New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of the American Medical Association. Look, do you realize right now they're saying 40% of our kids 40% have a chronic medical condition. What? We know that 50% of adults are pre-diabetic. We know 80% of adults are overweight, 50% are obese. What are we doing? What pretend game are we doing? And I don't fault these, the influencers that are on TikTok and everything else. They're telling you what they think they know. But what they know is now completely outdated by these 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies. As a matter of fact, the main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's a given. So now you have something that could completely transform the rest of your life. Obviously, it's up to you. So I would hope, okay, Honkit, monkey, starving myself is an option too. No, starving yourself is not an option. Let me put up, let's see, how do I do it over there? I wanted to, okay, I'm not sure you can all see it, but you can go to the free, it's an absolute free website for starving myself, and no food is free. I didn't say it was free, Cinema. What I'm saying is that if you looked at your food budget, 40% of what they gave people in the studies came from the grocery store. The other 5 foods, 60% of the food came from these 5 sources. So in terms of total cost, it may be the same or even a little bit, depending on what your food budget is. It could be, you may end up paying the same as now. But understand, all of you, then go on a diet and lower calories only to gain all the weight back. That's what's going on. Does anyone believe why diets are failing us? That's what we're teaching you right now. Diets are failing us. And then what are you doing about removing the chemicals you're storing in your body? What are you doing about it? I'd love to see it in the comments. Because no amount of exercise, you could run 100 miles today at 100 degrees. Not in sweat, not 1 gram of a toxin has ever been measured to leave the body. And guess what? You're breathing, right now we're all breathing the fumes from the coal-fired power plants in China, the cadmium and the mercury from about 14 to 16 days ago. That's what's going on. An estimate came out last year, we're all eating the equivalent, listen to this, of a credit card per week in plastic. Let's follow up on that. Starbucks coffee. They came out a month ago and said in each cup of Starbucks coffee, you're getting between 50 and 80,000 microplastics in every cup of coffee. And we think these traditional approaches work? Well, they don't. I mean, it's just so obvious that they don't. We have the biggest breakthrough that's ever happened in 40 years of research of nutrition and diets. And you have access by we have a free website for all of you. The new NEW, Health, HEALTH, Conversation. Let me repeat it for all of you. The new NEW, Health, HEALTH, Conversation. As a matter of fact, you can see it there if you're on one of the other platforms. It's actually typed just, I guess, as you're facing the camera to my right. Well, you're looking at it the other way, so it's probably on your left. It's a free website. You can go there, see all the medical proof. There's nothing to buy. My books aren't there. I'm not trying to sell you books, but we want to make you aware. We want to give you medical proof that this works, because it does work. And the thing that I would tell you is that, it's indicative that we have 80% of America overweight, and there's just a few people on this podcast. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Because the skepticism is people believe, what they're believing is that lowering calories is the way to lose weight. It doesn't work. Yes, Karma, we're in a, Karma, I'm not saying buy my book, but Karma, it's true. And I read to you what the top chemical experts, the Endocrine Society of the world is saying, that these chemicals, they said, they're reprogramming our hormones and causing us to gain weight. What are you doing about that? Paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating. It's just so blatant. It's so obvious. Well, honk it, monkey. I'm no longer drinking Starbucks now. Well, I probably will still drink it, but at least I'm aware that I probably don't want to have like 3 cups a day or something like that. But it's also plastic water bottles. You get, in a plastic water bottle, they estimate between 100 and 150,000 microplastics. If we're all eating the equivalent of a credit card per week in plastic, do you think maybe you should do something about that, or just it's okay? It's not gonna affect me until it does. Look, starving myself, all it is you're eliminating nutrition from your body. And here's what you're going to do. It's not an opinion. This is from science. When the body realizes it doesn't have enough nutrition, it does something called catabolic metabolism. In English, it means that the body will turn to our organs for fuel, starting with our muscles. So what does it do? It begins to break our muscles down into carbohydrates for fuel. But as a result, because there's not enough fuel to go around, the body slows down your metabolism. That's why whatever scheme you're on right now, the minute you stop that, you're going to gain back weight so fast you won't even believe it, because you can't burn as many calories. This is what I'm trying to get across to all of you, to have this amazing opportunity to change everything if you want. It's not up to me. But when are we going to wake up and say, look, our health, isn't that our wealth? Is there anything more important? So if it costs you another 20 or 40 or 50 or whatever a month to get yourself healthy, would that be over and above? Look, this is not for debate. I mean, let me tell you about deficiency that we wrote about actually in this book, the Tito Syndrome. They estimate that an apple from 30 years ago today to equal the nutrition, not the calories, but the nutrition of one apple, you got to eat between 6 and 8 apples. You got to eat about 6 oranges. But Cornell University did a study on spinach, which I think we all would hold in high esteem. And they said the iron levels in spinach since 1953 to today have decreased. You ready for this? By 4,300%. But it's broccoli, it's spinach, it's Brussels. It doesn't matter. We've so over-farmed the soil that the soil hasn't had time to recover, and that the nutritional value of our food continues to decline. No, no, Ankit, it's not that it's no more water as well. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just, look, my job is to make you aware. And my job is to only give you scientific proof. I don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, my gosh, go on social media. They're all giving you opinions. But have you ever seen one of them hold up one shred of medical evidence? Except telling you that, the only way to lose weight is to lower the amount of calories you have? It's just so, it's beyond sad. It's that we've all been convinced that these, whether, with all due respect, the medical doctors, the chiropractors, the dietitians, that they somehow have a solution. Well, if 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic, do you think they have a solution? But also, let's look, 2018, 42% of America was obese. 6 years later, it's 50%. That's like a 24% increase in 6 years. Where do you think we're going to be in another 6 years? This thing is not getting better. It's getting worse. And what do? Go to Barnes & Noble. You don't have to believe me, and I'm in Barnes & Noble. I love that store. Look at how many diets there are. It'll make your head spin. But in the long run, are any of them working? We write about in the book, the Journal of the American Medical Association conducted a 12-month study, not 12 weeks, 12 months. They looked at 48 different studies, over 7,200 people. And what they did, they looked at, in the 48 studies, about every diet out there. So they analyzed keto, paleo, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, the Cornish diet, the zone diet, lose weight for your blood type, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, etc. After 12 months, when they analyzed all the studies, 12 months, 7,200 people, the weight loss, the most amount of weight to the least amount of weight loss in a year was 10 ounces. What? But in a year, the average weight loss was 16 pounds. 40% of that was lean muscle. That's across all these diets. And yet, in the medical studies that we write about, the men and women who weren't allowed to exercise, because they didn't want exercise to be an outlier, not that they were against exercise, they lost 16 pounds in 30 days. And instead of losing lean muscle, they measured it. They lost no water. And instead of losing lean muscle like they did in all those other studies, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. And in 8 weeks, they shrank their visceral, the body fat around the organs, by 33%. And in a month, they lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides in 30 days, not 30 weeks. And they lowered inflammation, which is the underlying cause of every disease out there, by 25% in a month. See, that's why the main reason to do this is not to lose weight and fit in your skinny jeans. That's a given. That's like we almost joke and laugh and say, this, and you can see there. So again, Honkin, I'm going to explain again one more time, what did they do in the medical trials, okay? But I wanted everyone to understand what's going on, why, lest you don't think it's a problem, okay? So the researchers, here's what they did. They'd been doing weight loss research for almost 40 years. And every time, just like, the one person said, I'm just not going to eat or whatever, okay? Every time they put people on diets, 150 studies, thousands and thousands of people, they obviously were having them reduce the amount of food they were consuming. But in so doing, what else were they reducing? The amount of nutrition. So people, it didn't matter what the diet was, they lost weight. But every person, every time, lost up to 40% of their lean muscle. And every person, every time, once they came off whatever diet they were on that they'd studied, they gained all the weight back. So they said, wait a minute, we need a new approach. We can't rely on just lowering the quantity of food and ignoring the amount of nutrition. So how did they solve the problem? Okay, honk it. They went to, and they developed a grocery list that you would literally get proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, but only 40% of the food you normally would buy in a month would come from the grocery store. Only 40%. The other 60%, the researchers had found sources of food from around the world, from Russia, from Mongolia, Manchuria, from Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that had massive amounts of nutrition regardless of the number of calories, okay? So now they had the ingredients, 40% from the grocery store, 60% from these 5 foods around the world. Then they had 2 completely different ways of consuming food. The first one was called protein pacing, which people did 5 days a week. They did protein pacing. On those days, they had proteins, but only 40% came from steak, chicken, liver, fish that you would get even organic. The other 60% came from a protein source, okay, that, well, let me explain this to you. There's a huge misconception about protein. People, they tell you all the time, in order to lose weight, you've got to lower protein. You have to increase your protein consumption. Well, that's both good and bad. So they'll say, hey, have 120 grams of protein a day, and you'd think you're getting 120 grams of protein that the body uses. Nothing could be farther from the truth. In Europe, they developed an analysis through blood, stool, urine, and fat, where when you ingest protein from a plant or an animal, you get, in a protein, is the only way you get the 20 amino acids that are the building blocks of your life, period. You turn over almost every cell in your body once every 7 years. You do that not with fats, not with carbs, or not with protein itself. You do it what's inside the protein, the 20 amino acids. So it would sound initially, we got 120 grams of protein from a plant or 120 grams of protein from an animal. Well, what they found was shocking. In plant-based proteins, like a pea protein, the absorption of those 20 amino acids was only 10% out of 100. 90% was turned into toxic waste. They're called nitrogen catabolites that the kidneys had to get rid of. God forbid you ever had a friend that was on kidney dialysis. They really limit the amount of protein they can have. Now, all animal proteins, steak, chicken, liver, fish, swordfish, trout, didn't matter, absorption of 30%. The researchers found a source of protein where the absorption of those 20 amino acids was 91%. What that meant was, on the protein pacing days, effectively people could consume 60% less protein from animal sources, okay? And yet get the same benefit of the amount of amino acids. So obviously the quantity and the amount of food was way less, but they were getting the equivalent in nutrition, which is the only thing that mattered. Then they did a second thing, which will sound even stranger. They did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting, but where people on those days consumed 4 of these 5 foods from around the world. They were all liquid. And what you need to know is, last night when you all slept, all of us slept, as long as we didn't eat too late, our body, once we went to sleep, all but suspends digestion. And it automatically, without us doing anything, it detoxes our body every single night. It's called autophagy, get rid of the dead cells, etc. Well, the researchers, through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, proved that they were enabling the body, when we were awake, to create the same process, and they measured pesticides and herbicides and Scotchgard and Teflon and flame retardants and plastics leaving the body. That's the reason to do this, not to lose weight. As a result, that visceral fat where we were storing all those chemicals shrank by 33% in 8 weeks. Hunger went down 41% in 30 days. People lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all in 30 days. Okay, Lucy, I promise I'll come to that in just a moment. But they're not foods you can buy at the grocery store. There was a very specialized aloe vera. There was a bone broth. There was an electrolyte product that comes from the Himalayas, and then the protein source were these very specialized whey proteins from New Zealand. But not you couldn't buy it at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, etc. And it's what they used exclusively in the studies. And when they, just to give you an idea, when they looked at other whey protein shakes, the absorption, didn't matter what it was, and they were expensive, was between 5 and 8%. Between 5 and 8%. So now imagine they found a source where the absorption of the amino acids was 91%. That's why protein pacing worked. That's why they had such unbelievable, and also, just to let you know, Lucy, the way we build muscle in our body is with one of those 29 essential amino acids called leucine. So here people were ingesting 91% of all 20 amino acids, including leucine. And that's why the researchers didn't allow anybody to exercise, because they'd never been able to do this ever before. What would happen if people had, with no exercise, but were exposed to 91% of leucine? Well, despite the fact they lost as much weight in 30 days as people lost on diets in a year, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. But keep in mind, it was a combination of the 5 foods plus 40% of the food from the grocery store, and then these 2 completely new methods, which we teach you. You can see it there. You can go to the website. You don't have to believe me, Lucy. I don't want you to believe me, okay? No, it's not fasting. ICAP, you've missed it totally. It's not fasting. It's called intermittent nutritional fasting. It's fasting nutrition. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but that's, again, why we offer you to go and see the medical proof. See how it worked. It's not a fast. It's not intermittent fasting. None of that stuff works. It doesn't work long-term. We have 80% of America overweight, 50% are obese, 50% are pre-diabetic. You think any of these diets, really? Really, do you think dieting is working? Like lowering calories? This was done by the top weight loss researchers in the world for 40 years. Does this make sense to everyone? And my job is, I'm not trying to convince you. And I'm sure as heck not going to sell you anything, because it's up to you. When are you going to make, when was the last time you went 100% out just for you? Are you at the top of your to-do list? Or do you just kind of like brush it up? Well, you know, I've got an extra 10 or 15 or 20 or 50. I'm working with a young man right now, 35 years old. He weighs 650 pounds. I mean, really? This is a global catastrophe. Lest you think I'm making things up, the Lancet, probably the biggest medical journal in the world of England, they just completed a study in March this year, 2024. And they said it's now estimated that 1 billion people worldwide are clinically obese, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition worldwide. What? Do you understand when you go on a diet, you're putting yourself in terrible deprivation of nutrition? All these people telling you to lower calories, ask them, wait a minute, what's a calorie? You know, when I've done over 1,500 live lectures around the world. I've even been to China, and I've been in hospitals, and I asked the question to the doctors, give me what's a calorie? Give me the definition of a calorie. Lazy coder. That is completely lazy, so you don't have to think I'm making it up. Let's go to Harvard Medical School. Big study just came out, said stop counting calories. The idea of calories in, calories out is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They said stop counting calories and make every calorie count. That is completely, I think for good reason now, it's completely antiquated. That's what every one of these diets is. It's some form of lowering calories. But here's the problem, lazy. The human body doesn't know what a calorie is. The human body doesn't count calories. Why are you counting calories? Because someone told you to. The only thing your body cares about is nutrition. So when you lower, you can call it calories, but you're really lowering the amount of food you're consuming, whether it's paleo, keto, Mediterranean, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem. I don't care what diet it is. Well, guess what? How do you think your body reacts when it realizes there's not enough nutrition, not enough calories? It goes and looks for nutrition. And where does it find it? In your organs. It's called catabolic metabolism. So your brain, kidney, liver, heart, etc. But fat, fortunately, it starts in our muscles. It breaks the muscles down, converting them into carbohydrates for fuel. But then the body freaks out, goes in starvation mode. And in starvation mode, guess what? You can't burn fat. I don't care what you think. You can't do it. And so what happens is you lose weight on any of these diets, calories in, calories out. But it's not sustainable. There was another big study. They said that counting calories it's never been proven to keep weight off long term, and that 2/3 of people who lose weight by lowering calories or restricting calories gain back more than what they lost. That's why calories in and calories out is complete nonsense, right? Huh. Foxy. No, that's right. False information? Are you kidding? We're talking about peer-reviewed human trial studies. Do you understand what a peer-reviewed human trial study is? It's irrefutable evidence. It's not an opinion. You're giving me an opinion. Where's your proof for what you're saying? You don't have any, because the proof, and I have it here. New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of the American Medical Association, journal after journal saying that every person doing counting calories is gaining all their weight back or more. You got 80% of America overweight and 50% obese. You're trying to tell me that calorie counting is working? What universe would that happen in? You know, you can hang on to whatever opinion you have. But the reality is, go on these diets, calories in, calories out, watch what happens. Like on the shots now, I'm not even against the shots. They just did a 68-week study, 68 weeks on semaglutide. In 68 weeks, a year and 4 months, people lost 32 pounds. Well, maybe you think that's good. But right in the study, 40% of the weight loss was lean muscle. That's the point of this calories in, calories out is complete nonsense. No, it's not common sense, bro. Are you a researcher? Are you a scientist? I've devoted 21 years of my life to this. I've worked with some of the top medical doctors in the entire world. I did 20 shows on PBS. I've been interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America. I mean, I don't want you to believe me. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I'm the researcher of the researchers. I'm just bringing light. I'm shedding light on the reality of what's going on. And this calories in, calories notion thing is dog water. It's over. It's not working. And it can't work. Because again, your body doesn't, why tell me calories in, calories out? Body doesn't know what a calorie is. Why is that a measurement of anything? It's just the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. That's it. It's not a real thing. But here's the problem, Deadeye, and thank you for your comment, okay? They're even doing that. For example, in 200 studies, again, I don't give you opinions, okay? So just understand. False information. El Capri, nice try. This is based on, if you understand medical science and research, you'd know that a peer-reviewed human trial study is irrefutable. It's already been analyzed by the top medical doctors and researchers in the entire world. So again, you're wrong. Now, let me go back to Deadeye. So what's happened to us in this country is our food is becoming more and more nutritionally bankrupt, all right? In 200 studies where they looked at organic foods compared to regular foods, yes, the organic food had a little bit more nutrition, but not a lot. I eat organic, but not because it's more nutritionally, but I eat it because it has less pollution. It has less chemicals in it, okay? So the key is, what are we the most deficient in? I'll give you just a quick example. One of the things we're the most deficient in is what are called trace ionic minerals, okay? Not iron, calcium, magnesium. There are 70 of these minerals we need, things like gold and silver and zinc and molybdenum and boron and beryllium, etc., okay? In the best organic you're getting, even if you stay on the outside, you're getting 20 out of those 70 minerals, 20, okay? The other thing, through no fault of any of us, is the other thing that's so critical to the human body are amino acids. Hopefully you know what those, if you don't, they're called the building blocks of life. Now, why are they so critical? Because, for example, all of us on this podcast right now will rebuild the lining of our stomach twice this month. We're going to make 2 new livers this year, and we turn over almost every cell in our body once every 7 years. That doesn't happen with fats, it doesn't happen with carbohydrates, and it doesn't happen with protein itself. This will shock all of you. You've all been told or seen that, you need like 120 grams of protein a day. That sounds good, except that doesn't mean anything. In Europe, they developed an analysis. When you ingest protein, they can tell you what percentage of the 20 amino acids that are in any protein, whether it comes from a plant or an animal. The only thing that matters to our body is what percentage of that. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm being very careful here, okay? But anyway, so let me follow. So in Europe, through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, see, this is real science. This isn't hyperbole and opinion, calories in, calories out. Nonsense, okay? Nonsense. Unless you can show a peer-reviewed human trial study, it's like when you get that, show it to me. So what did they do? Well, they measured the absorption of the 20 amino acids, first in plant-based proteins. The first one they looked at was pea protein. The absorption of those 20 amino acids was 10%, meaning if you ingested 120 grams of a plant protein, you literally were only getting 12 grams in your body. Now let's go to all meats. All meats, whether it's steak, chicken, liver, fish, trout, didn't matter, was 30%. So again, out of 120 grams of protein that you're ingesting, you get 36 grams of human protein, okay? Now, you might ask, well, what about the other 70? I thought protein itself is actually a toxin to our body. They're called nitrogen catabolites, urea, creatine, ammonia, and glucose. So what's not converted into amino acids, our kidneys have to get rid of. That's why when people on kidney dialysis, they don't want them to have any protein at all, right? Well, the research, you talk about the outer aisle, and there's no outer aisle to replicate this, okay, dead eye. They used in the studies, they found a protein source where the absorption, you ready for this, was 91%. Not 30, not 20, 91. That's why, Deadeye, in the studies, men and women were not allowed to exercise. Not because the researchers were going to exercise, but they wanted to see what would happen to people if they got 91% of one of those essential amino acids. It's called leucine. That's responsible to make muscle in the body. Well, they were shocked. You got to understand, people literally lost as much weight in 7 days as in 3 months of dieting. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on dieting. Now, before you think that's unhealthy, because it was not water weight, because they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, the people gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. That's why the outer aisle, 40% of what you'd consume on this would come from the outer aisle. That's what they'll give you. You get a grocery list if you do this. Fats, proteins, carbs, and fruits. Okay? But these other 5 foods, including the one that has not only does it have 91% absorption of aminos, it contains all 70 trace ionic minerals. Now I hope you're getting it. Great idea, the outer aisle. Tremendously inadequate. It'll get you maybe 30 or 40% of where it's possible for you to go. And I tell everybody this. Not to make you mad, but it might. All of you on here, I don't care what you think. You have no idea how bad you feel right now because you don't understand how good you could feel. And the biggest thing, look, I've written 4 best-selling books. I'm not trying to impress you, all right? But I wrote them all with some of the top medical doctors and researchers in the entire world, all right? I discovered a medical syndrome. Okay, this is not an opinion. This is a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. T for toxicity, D for deficiency, O for being overweight, and S is for stress. Every one of us is storing chemicals in our body. Now, lest you think I'm making things up, Deadeye, you'll love this. Wait till you hear this. Deadeye, we'll come back to that in a moment. I can't even explain it to you. It's a whey protein from New Zealand that had been not processed, but engineered. Well, the 70 minerals were added to it, along with these special enzymes that are in no other shake, okay? But also in the shake, guess what? It's the only shake in the world that has natural vitamins, not synthetic vitamins that lead to MFTHR, etc. This is like a miracle, right? And that's what they used in the studies, right? But the thing that we'll come back to that in a moment, I promise, but I want everyone to understand what these chemicals are doing to us that you're probably completely unaware of. Again, not my opinion. I don't give you opinions, right? Lagging on the line. No, Deadeye, don't be saying anything. But I want all of you, please pay attention to this. Again, not Peter Greenlaw. I'm the researcher of the researchers, and hopefully, JD, you can put up that if you would, because I'm occupied right now. But listen, I want you to listen carefully. The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to researching our hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports that the rise in the incidence in obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrial chemicals that may be playing a role in a generation of obesity. They go on to say, by the way, these chemicals, we're talking about herbicides and pesticides, and we have 80,000 chemicals in commercial use in North America. 2% have ever been tested for what they're doing to us. That's 1,600 out of 80,000. But let me go on. They gave these chemicals a name. They call them obesogens. Listen to this. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal systems, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our bodies from a variety of sources, from natural compounds in soy, from artificial hormones fed to animals, plastics in food packaging, and chemicals added to processed food and pesticides sprayed on our produce. Listen to this. They act in a variety of ways mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What are you doing about that? Seriously, your calories in, calories out. There's no evidence. Those diets have never produced one scintilla of evidence they're removing anything from your body except your lean muscle mass, which we need to stimulate our immune system. I mean, this whole thing is crazy. It's all upside down. And they go on to say about this, Frederick von Saul, PhD, curators, professor of biological science at the University of Missouri at Columbia. Obesogens are thought to act by hijacking the regulatory systems that control body weight. The presence of obesogens is the first reason the traditional dieting methods, calorie in, calories out, whatever, have become outdated. Never before have traditional low carbohydrate, low calorie diets been forced to accommodate for this level of synthetic chemicals and the adverse effects that have on the body. The body's attempt to protect itself from the constant assault of synthetic toxins results in the production and storage of fat. Hello. No calories in, calories out, eat on the outer. Not that it's bad to shop on the outer part of the, but it doesn't do anything until now, until this is so groundbreaking. The top researchers in health and nutrition and weight loss in the world are calling these researchers saying, you're going to change the world. They're saying that counting calories is ridiculous. It doesn't work. They did 38 years of study, 150 different studies, thousands of people on what? Calories in, calories out, just by a different name. Paleo, keto. Is everyone getting this? Yeah, I get really emotional and get excited because I'm really, if anything, what we want to be able to do is to show you the medical proof. Here, let me put it up here. This is the free research website that you can go to, the New Health. I'll put up there just give me 1 second to type it in for you. Okay, you'll see it there, the New Health Conversation. It's a free research site. What's not on there are my books. What's not on there is anything to buy. What's on there is the medical proof. The studies, the breakdown of the studies is an interview with the number one nutritional researcher in the world for 38 years. He's worked with Green Berets and Navy SEALs and Olympic athletes and CrossFit people, etc. This is not a diet. It has nothing to do with dieting. Ending obesity sounds like good business. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Deadeye. That's very interesting. But again, I'm not picking a fight with anybody. You can all have whatever opinions that you want to have. The problem is when I see something up there like I hate Trump, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we have 80% of America overweight. We have 50% obese. We have 50% of adults pre-diabetic. We have almost 50% of our kids overweight, and 40% of our kids all have chronic conditions. Does everybody think this is okay? And this is the first time ever, where we have 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies that, look, they also, Deadeye, you'll appreciate this, or Regina. The CDC came out about 6 months ago and said 92% of the American population, actually 92.3 according to them, but let's call it 92, are metabolically unhealthy. What? If you have 3 of these 5 factors. If you're overweight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. In these studies, all 5 of those came down dramatically just in 30 days. That's not exactly blah, blah, blah. But in addition, remember, this is peer-reviewed human trial studies. You can't go higher in medicine than that. They also lowered hunger by 41% in 30 days. Triglycerides went down 25% in 30 days. But the big one was inflammation. Unless you think any of you escaped from that, inflammation affects all of us as the underlying cause, according to the medical community now, to every disease out there. It went down 25% in 30 days. Remember, this is without exercise. And in 8 weeks, people shrank their visceral, the belly fat, by 33%. No calories in, calories out, calorie counting, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, none of them have ever had any impact on that. It's not something I'm making up. I don't have to. I'm the author. I'm the researcher. I did the research over 21 years. And I've got 4 best-selling books. Why Diets Are Failing Us, the TDOS syndrome, which is a medical syndrome, which I was talking about before, that we're storing these chemicals inside our fat cells. And then the TDOS solutions, which is now the medical studies have proven. And this book, Your Third Brain, it's not a trick title. You know, again, people can do whatever they want to do, okay? I mean, there's a warning on a pack of cigarettes. It's up to you. I mean, you're adults. You do whatever the heck you want to do. I fortunately, I never smoked, but I had a lot of my friends that were addicted to cigarettes. I really feel sorry for them. But now we've got people addicted to food. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Did you know that there's a big book that was written? It's called, hold on just a second. Okay, sorry, I was going over time on social media here, but we're okay now. But the book's called Salt, Sugar, and Fat. It was written by Michael Moss, nothing to do with me. I'm just sharing with you what he wrote about. He said that the food companies over the last like 15 or 20 years have spent $1 billion to create the bliss point. Wait till you hear this. What they did experiments. They did brain scans on adults and children as they would give them different combinations of salt, sugar, and fat. They could see how the brain responded to it. So they figured out the exact amount of salt, sugar, and fat where we would eat food. And see, food has to be pleasurable. We'd starve to death. So they stimulate that, but not enough to fill us up. I'll surrender. And I still eat them. I love Lay's potato chips, but hell, I can't eat just one. G2. I've got to go for now. Regina, thanks for hanging in there. Providing a temporary cure all for money. Yeah, Della Rosa, I'm not going to comment on that. All I can tell you is, yeah, added it. Well, that was the point of salt, sugar, and fat. But listen, this is more insidious. They admitted it. They admitted they've hired food engineers. And I do. I love Lay's potato chips, but I can't just eat one. Now I understand why. So I either avoid them totally or I just surrender and have a whole bag, right? Now it's football season, so it's going to be more of a challenge. But I know what I can do about it. That's the other part, right? Yeah, so the bliss point creates this desire, but you're not satiated. Now, to follow up on Deadeye, what you're saying, and a couple of other people, you can't have one. No. Oh, Nadia, no. I'm being totally transparent. I'm being honest. And I'm a nutritional researcher for 21 years. But, but life also, I don't live in a cave I live in Colorado. I don't live in a cave, with incense. Nothing against that if you want to do that. That's not me. I want to still live my life, but in moderation. Look, I did this 21 years ago for all of you. I'm not trying to impress you. This is my story. You'd think this is the big part. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. The big part was when I walked in my doctor's office 8 weeks prior, my cholesterol was 400, my triglycerides were 300, and I had an 85% chance of a heart attack within 18 months. Well, he put me on diet, exercise, and Lipitor. I went 8 weeks. I lost 8 pounds, but my cholesterol only came down 15 points. Then a friend of mine turned me on to actually an early version of this protocol that they now have the medical proof behind. I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. But I lowered my cholesterol from 400 to 120, my triglycerides from 300 to about 30, and lowered my heart attack risk from 85 to 15. And I've kept the weight off now for 21 years. So it's not, but let me explain something to you. Yes, Deadeye. Well, I was reading to you before. Did you hear what I said? Hopefully you got to hear that part where I read about these obesogens are what's manipulating our hormones, right? Okay, Nadia, here's why. You'll love this part, everyone. Harvard University did a study, granted it was on rats, and they proved that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. There's your answer, Nadia. 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Not to get too deep into the medical part, but I want you all to understand. In your brain, you have these neurotransmitters. One is called serotonin. There's another one called dopamine. There's one called there's a bunch of them. But the two that really control your mood and how you feel, all addictions are caused by low dopamine in the brain. So whether it's alcohol, crack cocaine, amphetamines, now I guess it's fentanyl. I don't know what all these drugs are, marijuana, or food. And what happens is that when you are lacking in, that's why alcoholics have a gene that literally converts the alcohol into dopamine. And that's why, they can't, I mean, it's a physical thing. It's real. It doesn't, not everybody that drinks, turns into an alcoholic. I had an uncle that was sadly an alcoholic, died of alcoholism. I saw it. It wasn't that he didn't want to quit. He just couldn't. But now the science backs it up that we understand what's going on. Well, they've done the same thing to us with food. I mean, how do you think we got 80% of America overweight and 50% are obese, 50% are pre-diabetic? We're offering you an amazing opportunity. You can see it right there, the New Health Conversation. It's completely free. You can't buy my books there. There's nothing to buy. It's the medical proof. But if you go there and you like what you see, listen to this. We offer you a free consultation with one of our coaches. Not an 800 number bait and switch, not somebody trying to convince you. Because if you go to that website for yourself, see the irrefutable medical evidence, there are before and afters, you will think we photoshopped them. We didn't. But it's not just the weight, it's the medical stuff. You'll see their numbers, their blood pressure, their A1C, their HDL. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was unbelievable to the researchers. They've been doing this for 38 years. They've done 150 different studies. They've never seen anything like this before, where people lost weight 12 times faster than any diet, lost no water, and instead of losing lean muscle, gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Deadeye, I hope you do. Well, I guess he was right, Deadeye. That's very interesting. I had someone else tell me, Della Rosa, let me explain something to you. You can see up there, is it gone now? Well, they call me the researcher of the researchers, and that's a really good title, okay? I don't claim anything I'm not. And I say, look, I'm not the expert, but I became an expert on the experts. To my knowledge, this is the only free research site on social media with real medical proof about everything I'm sharing with you. Nothing I'm sharing with you is my opinion. That's why I wrote 4 best-selling books, all with medical doctors, by the way, because I'm not a medical doctor. But I am a researcher, and I did discover a medical syndrome that's recognized by the U.S. Patent Office, okay? TDOS, toxicity, deficiency, overweight, and stress. And every one of us, including everybody on this podcast and everybody in the world, has TDOS syndrome. Well, thank God in these studies, they proved there was a way to assist our body in removing the chemicals that you can't avoid. No calories in, calories out, calorie counting, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, any exercise. You can run 100 miles today, no toxins in sweat. This is like a new frontier, but in a great way. And yeah, you're really, Deadeye, you're very, very astute. So again, Della Rosa, yeah, I am. I'm going to put it up here for you one more time. So Della Rosa, this is what you can do if you want. You can go to our website, and the only thing on there is the research and the proof and an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. And if you like what you see, scroll down to the bottom. It says, sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. They'll answer all your questions for free. There's no obligation. But if you do decide you want to do what they're going to tell you what they did in the medical studies, you're going to get that coach. That same person will be your coach for free. And the 5 foods. So I don't know if you were around for that part, Della Rosa. Yeah, I do care. Absolutely. And I don't know if you heard the story about my mom. Let me repeat it briefly for everybody. My mother was morbidly obese my whole life, and I loved her. She was awesome. And 23 years ago, before I became a researcher, and one of the reasons I did, she called me up one day and said, Peter, I have one wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything if I could just spend 24 hours thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's really a nice goal. Well, 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. My mom did about every diet you could ever name. That's why I'm so anti-diets. But I didn't have a solution for 20 of those years. We had anecdotal evidence. We have, like a lot of people come on here and they tell me about, whether it's time-restricted eating or calories in, calories out, whatever it is. They don't have one shred of medical proof. I didn't either, okay? Thanks very much. Yeah. My mom became my inspiration to help all of you that are willing to take it on for yourself, not for us. My gosh, how big does it have to get? Then 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, 40% of our kids have chronic conditions. What? is to lower your calories. Nonsense. That's why this was a big bestseller. It was controversial, and people come on and if they would challenge us. And honestly, we had no defense. To be honest, we didn't until these peer-reviewed human trial studies came out that are irrefutable, right? So you can see it, the new health conversation. You can go there for free and see, but look at the medical proof. It's totally transparent. And then if you want, someone can contact you. If you go to that site, if you think we're contacting you, put the emphasis, give you control of your life, of your health, etc. That's not up to us, it's up to you. And if you want to believe all the influences that you see on social media, go for it. But then look around. If 80% of Americans are overweight and 50% are obese, do you think diets are working? Do you think that's the way to get healthy? Yeah, exactly. There you go, De La Rosa. That's great. But even that, and even vegan, and I'm not opposed to it because some people do it for ethical reasons. But what you have to understand is that that's not the solution, okay? Because the problem is, there are several problems, but the number one problem is this, that the human body pretty much remakes itself with amino acids, okay? Not with fats, not with carbs. This will shock some of you, not with protein itself. But we can't live without protein because protein is like a walnut shell. I want everyone to get the concept. Inside, like a walnut, is the walnut. That's what you want. But also inside of a protein are the 20 amino acids that are called the building blocks of life. All of us this month will make 2 new linings to our stomach in 30 days. We'll make 2 new livers this year, and we'll turn over almost every cell in our body once every 7 years. That doesn't happen with fats, it doesn't happen with carbohydrates, and it doesn't happen with protein itself. So the protein, what they did, they developed a test in Europe called net nitrogen utilization, not to bore with the science, where when people ingested protein from plants or from animals, they could measure from 0 to 100 what percentage of those 20 amino acids was the body using to make human protein. This may also shock some of you. We have 22,000 genes in our body. We make 22,000 different proteins, human proteins. Notice I didn't say take, I said make. So, excuse me, the protein that's not converted has to be dealt with as a toxin. They're called nitrogen catabolites that the kidneys have to get rid of. Excuse me. Well, again, and I don't want to make you mad, but vegan protein, plant-based proteins, the absorption of amino acids is only 10%. 90% is toxic waste the kidneys have to get rid of, okay? So if you're relying on plant-based protein to give you enough amino acids, you've got to eat a tremendous, tremendous amount. Excuse me. Now, the other thing is that animal proteins, they're at 30%. Well, in the research, in the studies, they found a source, 91% absorption of amino acids. So that's where it becomes so. De La Rosa, you provide. No, I don't provide anything, but the fulfillment companies do. If you go and sign up for that free consultation, they'll go over everything with you, the cost. But remember, if you looked at 90 meals in a month, De La Rosa, 57 of those meals are going to come from these 5 foods. The other 33 meals are going to come from the grocery store. So it's not like you're spending on whatever you're spending now and then you're doing on top of that. Most people feel that they can do this and it's about the same they're paying for food that's, 40% of it's, lacking in nutrition. This whole thing is based not on calories, but it's based on what's called nutritional density, meaning what's in the calorie, okay? And for all of you, what I would say is this, that you can follow whatever influencer you want to follow. You can follow this whole outdated, calories in, calories out, which doesn't work, okay? Or you can go and aren't you at least curious? Are you a little bit curious if you could lose as much weight in 4 days as in 4 weeks of dieting, lose as much weight in a week, in 7 days as 8 weeks of dieting, and lose as much weight in a month? You see right there, can you lose 8 weeks of weight in 4 days? The answer is yes. I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 days, you can lose as much as you can in 8 days. In a month, you lose as much weight in a year. With no loss of muscle, gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle, and lowering blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation in 30 days, lowering hunger by 41%, and in 8 weeks, shrinking the visceral, the belly fat by 33%. Does anyone want to put a comment in the chat before I close out this live today? Yeah, but I will. Here's the problem, Delaware. I hate to tell you this. What you lost was up to 40% was your lean muscle mass. The chances of you gaining more weight than you lost are 66 and 2/3%. Notice I didn't say just gaining back what you lost, ending up gaining more weight than you lost. It's not an opinion by me. These are the medical studies. Yeah, okay, well, there you go, the side effect. It's giving me hallucinations. Oh my gosh. No, Deadeye, that's what we'll teach you. It has not, calorie deficit is the worst thing that anybody could ever do, they've ever come up with. It doesn't work, period, end of the story. This is all the new research. I mean, Harvard Medical School, Journal of the American Medical Association, and these researchers, they've done every calorie deficit diet out there for 38 years. None of them worked long term. People ended up gaining all the, Carlos, it's not a diet. You weren't on here in time, so good afternoon to you too. Yeah, see, so Carlos, what we're talking about is, I know this will sound crazy to you. These new medical, they're called peer-reviewed human trial studies. There's nothing higher in medicine. They were done by the top, let's call them diet researchers in the world. They had men and women not allowed to exercise, and this will blow you away, Carlos. Men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year of any diet you've ever been on. Now, unless before you start saying or thinking that it's unhealthy to lose that much weight that fast on a diet, it would be. This is not a diet. It has nothing to do with dieting. But in addition, they lost no water at all. And instead of losing lean muscle, remember, they weren't allowed to exercise. They gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. And in 8 weeks, they shrank the belly fat by 33% with no exercise. This is far from a diet. As a matter of fact, the main thing that it is, Carlos, it's a detox to combat this medical condition that you and me and everybody in the world has, called TDOS, stands for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, being overweight, and stress. Every person on earth has it. So what we're doing to ourselves, unbeknownst, we're drinking and breathing, eating chemicals in our food, water, and air. And what the body does, it takes the chemicals to protect us and stuffs them inside those fat cells. They actually have a name for these chemicals. They're called obesogens, okay? Yeah, that's exactly right. Carlos, what they did, let me give you the short version, but let me show you one other thing even more important. I don't want you to believe me, Carlos, but there's a free website you can go to with the medical proof, including the before and afters, but including the medical results. Carlos, the main reason to do this is not to lose weight, because also in a month's time, people's blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation all came down dramatically in 30 days. Hunger came down by 41% in 30 days. No one, excuse me, these researchers have been doing this for 38 years. They've never seen anything like this in 38 years. This is going to change the world. Now, again, you don't have to listen to me. You can go listen. All those influences out there. There's medical doctors and chiropractors and dietitians and nutritionists and workout people and weight loss coaches. What are they all telling you, Carlos? The only way to lose weight is to lower calories. It's been completely destroyed now. Not just by these researchers, but people like at the New England Journal of Medicine, like the Journal of the American Medical Association, and stop counting calories. It's antiquated, it's wrong, it doesn't work. What we need to do is concentrate what's in the calorie. So, Carlos, that website you're seeing there, because I'm just about ready to, well, I'm coughing, number one, but number two, I've been on this now for an hour and a half or whatever. You can go to, you can see it there, Carlos, the New Health Conversation. When you go there, we won't contact you. I promise. There's nothing to buy, not my books, nothing. The only thing there is the medical proof and an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world for 38 years who conducted the medical trials. But if you like what you see, you scroll down to the bottom, it says free consultation. And I mean, it's free with one of our coaches, not somebody in an 800 number that doesn't know what they're talking about. They've gone through the protocol and they can answer all your questions. If you decide to do the protocol, they give you it's free coaching. And also 40% of the food that they would show you you're going to consume, they give you a grocery list, you go to the store. The other 60% are foods you can't buy in the grocery store. They literally come from all over the world. They come from Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, from Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand. And those 5 foods, during the first 30 days, if for any reason, you don't even have to have a reason, that the companies who supplied those 5 foods, not from the grocery store, but from around the world, offer you a 100% money-back guarantee. Do they do that at paleo or keto or Mediterranean or time-restricted eating or any of these diet programs? No. I mean, you have no risk. Your only risk is you don't go and see for yourself. And the website's free. There's no tricks. We're not going to twist your arm if you go there. Yeah, well, that's part of, if you lock De La Rosa, see the S stands for stress. Because, yeah, what we're storing in our body, these chemicals are stressing the body out. And then the body recognizes it doesn't have enough nutrition and it gets stressed out even more. That's why the TDOS syndrome is such a big deal. So I hope all of you enjoyed this today. And I'm doing anywheres, I'll probably do another one in about an hour, a little bit over an hour. And my goal is to educate as many people as possible. We don't need to sell you. We don't need to convince you. If you take the time for yourself to go to the new, you can see it there, the new health conversation. Everything's there, all the medical proof. So we don't want to be in the selling or convincing business, but we want you to at least be curious for yourself. Like Carlos, if you go there, there's no tricks. But Carlos, would you be excited if you could lose as much weight in a week as in 8 weeks of any diet? Lose as much weight in by the way, that's with no exercise. And not that they're against exercise, they weren't. But they eliminated exercise because they didn't want that to be a factor. I hope that makes sense to everyone. So I bid all of you a great afternoon, whatever you're doing, wherever you live, etc. And I would also encourage you, if you want, you can go. Well, that's very nice of you, Carlos. Absolutely. Oh, great. I'm happy for you. I know for all of you, it's too good to be true. I'll tell you this, it's better than that, okay? So anyway, everybody have a great afternoon. And if you like, you can also like my TikTok site is The New Health Conversation. So everybody have a great rest of your day.